Why is she like this? Hey guys, this is Jules with True Crime Reactions. Disclaimer, everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only, and just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. So, you guys know in the Idaho 4 case, there's been a rumor going around for a while now. I'd say it's almost a year old because all of the articles that I'm looking up trying to find just how far back this goes, it seems like they started back in May of 2023. We are towards the end almost of February of 2024. So yeah, this stuff is almost a year old rumor. Now, the rumor that I'm talking about is the fact that there's a woman claiming to have lived by Bryan or gone to school with Bryan. It's been said former friend, but it's also been said neighbor, which would mean at that apartment complex, the one where, we have all of the logs for everything that they took from his apartment during the apartment search. But that was never proven that this person even existed for the first part, and no one's ever came forward claiming to be this person. Now, what the rumor is that they're claiming that at some point they felt as if someone had been inside of their apartment and had moved stuff around. Like nothing was apparently stolen, but stuff was moved and it was very noticeable. So when this woman's like, freak out session in her mind, thinking that someone was in her apartment moving her stuff around, all the things that go through one's head or would go through one's head, thinking that someone was in your apartment snooping around, okay? She reached out to a friend that she apparently would have felt safe with, right? Someone that she would have trusted at least a little bit to help her. And that friend is apparently Bryan Kohberger. And apparently he came into her apartment with her permission and set up this entire security camera system for her. Now, what they're trying to claim is that while he was putting up the security system, he was also the person who broke in and moved stuff around in order for all of this to happen, because he just knew. He just knew that if he went into this girl's apartment and messed with all of her stuff, that he would be the one that she would go to. That she would go and confide in him over anyone else. He just knew that that was exactly how it was going to play out. I highly freaking doubt it. He had just moved here. Just the simple fact that he had only been at WSU since August, like he had literally just started the school year there, means that he hadn't been around for very long for people to really get a good feel for him. But if this woman's instant reaction was that he was safe to go to for help, that actually says a lot, okay? Now, nothing ever came of all of this. There was never any officials, reports ever leaked anywhere. Nobody ever came forward claiming to be this woman that this happened to. Nothing. That's why, again, it's really difficult for us to try to see, for a lot of people to see Bryan Kohberger as being the guy that really did this the way that they're claiming that he did it, because not only do we not have any connections between him and the victims, per all of the court documents, or anything that really leads to any true facts of what he was doing. We also really don't have any true facts about anything from previous. Now, there were a couple of situations back whenever he was a teenager, back a decade before. And while, yes, behavior patterns and stuff like that matters like a hell of a lot, okay? It matters a whole lot. Things that happen as a teenager don't necessarily reflect the way that you're going to be as an adult, especially if you've done the work. Now, it's been a theory of mine. It's been a theory of mine that maybe Bryan really did know that he was messed up in the head. And that's why he started taking the psychology classes and courses in community college and then worked on his, his career advances into where he was now to maybe try to help him better understand himself. I've thought about that. Just like I don't throw away the complete idea that Bryan Kohberger is guilty either. Okay. I've actually been really hardcore going back and listening to and taking notes on Reverend Donna Serafina's readings from before they ever arrested Bryan. Now, I'd heard all of these before, and I found them extremely interesting, especially since she was so on point in the Vallow and Daybell situation when it came to the kids, down to the clothes that they were wearing, the positions of the bodies, all the things that she had foreseen, it was true. So I've been taking a lot of notes on that stuff, and I've been really interested in a couple of things. Well, not really a couple, a lot of things that she's saying. And I'm going to be trying to put a bunch of that stuff together, and I'm going to come to you guys with it, because it's really, really scary how accurate she was when it comes to describing Bryan. And then he actually gets arrested, and he literally fits to a T, down to the dark wavy hair and the build that she described. a month and a half prior to his arrest. It's really just creepy, okay? But I'm looking at all sides. And in this situation, as much as I have like 15 pages of notes sitting in front of me from going over all of her readings over the past like 2 days and really trying to piece stuff together, I then see stuff like this and I'm just like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? Justice has to be just and true, and it doesn't need to be just completely dramatic and just full of bullshit. And I feel like I've been talking for way longer than I should be. So we're going to go over this video together. Yes, I'm sorry. You guys are going to have to suffer through it with me because I'm going to be talking my mouth off the entire time. So I hope you guys are ready. You know it's going to be good whenever that's how it starts. Look at her face. Okay, let's go.
There is also this from outside the realm of the hearings and the motions. It involves Bryan Kohberger well before November 13th, 2022, before that quadruple murder happened, and specifically his interactions with a woman who believes that Kohberger was spying on her electronically in her own home. You may have heard about this story a few months ago. The woman, fellow student.
Not a few months ago, almost a year. And I have an article right here. You see this? This is the Independent. If you go back and you look up this stuff, Fox News, the Independent, NewsNation, all of them, these reports came out May. Okay, let's get back to this mess.
And an acquaintance of Bryan Kohberger at Washington State University told the police that she thought Kohberger was watching her on her home surveillance cameras that she had asked him to help install for her safety. The irony.
The irony. She gets on my nerves. She gets on my nerves, but that's my point. That's my point, okay? He had only been there for a few months. She immediately knew, I can trust that guy. He's not the one who broke into my apartment. I can trust that guy to help me. There is something about his presence around this woman that makes her feel safe around him. Just like we heard that there was a whole man, a whole big man himself, that only went on runs at night with Bryan Kohberger because with Bryan Kohberger, he felt safe. It is weird. And I know that the people are going to say, oh, Ted Bundy, Ted Bundy, Ted Bundy. I get it. I get it. But it's still odd to wrap your head around. It really is.
What had happened was her home was broken into. Things were moved around. Nothing was taken, but she thought it was weird. Not weird enough to call the police, but weird enough to call her friend Bryan Kohberger and ask for help. All of that was just a couple of months before Bryan Kohberger is accused of murdering those 4 young people in their off-campus home near the University of Idaho. And tonight we are hearing from a trusted source inside one of the victims' families that the woman who believes Kohberger spied on her is not happy that her interaction with the mass murder suspect is not part of his prosecution. In fact, we're told that nobody in her local police department has even pursued her claims or shares her fear that her personal private images, maybe nudes, possibly could have been leaked by Bryan Kohberger. Maybe.
Do you see what they're trying to turn this into? They are literally trying to turn it into now he has not only been spying on this woman, but he was taking all of the times that he watched her undress, take a shower, do her dude, and everybody else, okay? Everything else that he saw, that he went and threw that onto the internet. I can't even talk. That he went and threw that onto the internet and sold her images or shared her naked stuff all over the place. Could have. Could have. Why are they sensationalizing this story and creating things that don't exist, most likely in the original aspect of this? Now, what probably happened, literally what probably happened, is she told this story to the police, and because they have all of his electronic information, and they probably also took her electronic information and saw the conversations between the two of them, if this story is true even a little, okay? And then through all of their forensic investigations into Bryan over the past over a year now, there was nothing to tell them that he did any of those things. Therefore, that's why it's not part of the case. And it's also not part of the case because why would it be? Yes, I understand patterns of behavior, but if there is no pattern of behavior there, and all of their investigations that they've done, if there's nothing to show them that he did that to her, then of course it's not part of the prosecution. And why the hell are we continuing to talk about it?
Maybe they're out there somewhere. There is some concern that those images would not only be a violation of her privacy, but possibly relevant to to the quadruple murder case against Bryan Kohberger. And that is where I turn to Gigi McKelvey. She is the host of Pretty Lies and Alibis, true crime podcast, one of the best in the business. Trust me on that.
Why would I trust you on that? Why would I trust you on that? I don't, okay, for one, I'm not going to talk crap about this, whoever this woman is, because I don't know who this woman is. Okay. I've heard of the podcast before. I've maybe listened to an episode based on another story that I was trying to get some information on, but it's not one that I've kept in my repertoire. Okay. I don't know what their deal is. I don't know what their thing is. It sounds like she's totally on the guilty train. And for Ashley to be like, oh, they're the best in the business, trust me on that. No, that just means that she will come on the same way that Jennifer Coffindaffer will and agree with whatever she's told to agree with. Or they're only reaching out to her because she fits the biasness of NewsNation, even though, you know, at the endings of all of their reports, they claim to have unbiased coverage, which is completely just not true, literally at all.
Gigi, what do you make of this? That the police did not pursue, as this woman apparently is claiming, the severity of her allegations.
Apparently is claiming. Apparently is claiming. Yeah, because NewsNation is the only one talking about this. So where's this woman? If she's apparently claiming this, wouldn't you know for sure if she was saying this or not? See, this just tells me that they have nothing else to talk about. So they're bringing up a bunch of old crap that just looks salacious and they know will get a lot of views. That's because they have nothing else better to do. I don't know how this woman sleeps at night, honestly. I really just don't.
Allegations that Bryan Kohberger was spying on her.
Yeah, it's shocking, really, because you think about it. Bryan Kohberger started Washington State University in the fall of 2022. So it would show that when he arrived in Washington State, he didn't take long before he started stalking people, which we believe is what happened, with the Idaho 4.
Or it didn't take long for people to realize that he was just this, like, little bit of a weird guy, but that he was trustworthy, that they could feel safe around him. Again, for a woman to go straight up to somebody and be like, I need your freaking help. I feel like somebody was in my apartment, and she has only known him for a small amount of time. There had to have been something about him that made her feel like she could trust him. Okay, you're not just going to go, and these two women are annoying me because they know this. They should know this. You get vibes off of people. You get the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. You get goosebumps. If somebody rubs you wrong, you instantaneously, especially us as women, are very judgmental of the people around us, especially men. Okay. I know that I cannot walk around without literally having eyes on everyone around me at least once. I have to constantly have my eyes watching around me because not only for me, but for my child, for my children, for my daughter, for my son, for my youngest son. Now, I could say I'm not too worried about my big kid, like my big son, because he will just I think he will just pound somebody into the ground if they ever tried anything, honestly. He's so big, okay? But even then, you just never know. People could come up and inject somebody with something and take off with them. You can't trust anyone around you. And for a woman who is in college, who is living on her own, to instantly feel safe with him enough to be like, hey, someone was in my apartment. I'm scared that maybe they could come back and do more than they, did by just moving stuff around to freak me out. I need your help. I need to try to catch who this is. Can you please help me with some cameras? And then for them to say he could have been doing this and he could have been doing that. So you're taking away something that he most likely 99% of the chance is that he just did something nice for someone to help somebody out. And they're trying to turn it into something horrible. Because we also have to remember he saved someone's life before too. Like in an instance at some other job that he saved someone from dying. But then again, I know I'm going to get a bunch of Ted Bundy did too situations, which, fair.
At the King Road residence, I mean, he was riding by there and things. But here's the thing. The fact that they're not even investigating this would be easy to prove through electronics if he was connecting to her password and looking.
See, it would be easy to prove. Okay. They probably already did the digging and there was no proof. That's why all this time later, we're not hearing about it. So I don't know, again, why she's like, this is what this woman is apparently saying. No, she's not. This is what you're apparently saying because you've got nothing else better to talk about. which in fact you do. There's so much insanity happening in the world right now. I could think of a much better time segment that NewsNation could have done for this 5.5 minutes other than this crap.
At those cameras, that would be something I think beneficial for the prosecution to have on their side to just show his character to this jury eventually when it goes to trial.
And you know why it's not part of the prosecution's case? Because the character of Bryan Kohberger that this shows is trustworthy and safe. Someone that a woman would reach out to make her feel safe in a time of her feeling vulnerable and weak because of a situation that she's going through. That's why it's not part of the prosecution's case. And that's telling, because if they're looking for patterns of behavior, the defense, you'd think, would love to talk to her. And maybe they have. Or maybe she's one of those 400 that they still need to talk to that they should have talked to already because it feels like they've been doing nothing all this time. I mean, seriously, stop for a second. I want you guys to drop in the comments how disappointed it was. Like, how disappointed did you feel, rather? Let's pull a survey question. How disappointed did you feel, or how did you feel in the last court session on the 26th when we found out that they still had 400 people to talk to and 100 people to talk to on this end and 3 generations to go back on, and they've only done 10% of everything that they've needed to do, and we are 14 months into his incarceration, pretty much. And they have been billing how many billable hours for that entire office this entire time. They've been filing paperwork after paperwork after paperwork, acting like they don't have this, they don't have that, they don't have this, they need this. But they're not even handling the job that they already need to be doing. On top of that, how disappointed did you guys feel to know that this far in, they've done literally nothing? For her to give us a 51 terabyte like data package detail this far in doesn't make sense to me. By now it should be way more than that. By now, with everything that they should have gotten since his arrest, it should be way, way more than that. We've seen the search warrants. We've seen the search warrants for all of the social media data being executed after the first time they told us about those 51 terabytes. After the first time they told us about the 9,000 tips. How come these numbers aren't changing? How come in 14 months these numbers are not changing? They're literally doing nothing, is what it seems like to me. And I want to know what you guys feel about that. Okay.
So I thought about that, and then I wondered if there's a possibility, and I'm honestly spitballing here, Gigi. There's a gag order in this case. We do not know what they have, what they're doing. We don't know if maybe they've established a stalking pattern related to this other woman and that they're keeping it close to their vest potentially for prosecution. But
would that be a situation? For anyone that knows gag orders, okay, wouldn't it only be a gag order on this specific case? And if there was an actual police report ever actually filed, which I doubt it would be out there. I know there's plenty of channels that literally like stalk these places to see if any little thing is going to happen. What's the dispatch that's popping up? What does this incident report say? I know that they're out there. Okay, I see them as I'm scrolling. There's several of them out there that stalk these places for any new information that they could possibly find. Okay, if there was a police report ever filed for this instance, it would have been found by now. If there was someone actually out on the internet giving this story out to people, if this was somebody's Facebook post, if this was someone's Instagram post, Reddit post, if this was ever actually out there, it would have been out there by now. People would have found it. We're literally only hearing about this story from the mainstream media, nowhere else.
I keep coming back to the police. Wouldn't they at least give this person the time of day to investigate her claims, fill out all the reports, make her feel comfortable or at least self-assured that perhaps, you know, she's not being consumed, her private images may not be consumed in the dark web somewhere?
Why do they keep doing that? Like, seriously, why in the hell does she keep saying that specific stuff? Why? Is she trying to just get people to think that he's like just more sadistic? Because honestly, if this woman really felt like that, wouldn't she have already filed a police report? And she's sitting here saying, why aren't the police this? Why aren't the police that? Well, it takes that woman making the incident report for anything to get done. They can't just take what they're hearing online when it comes to this kind of stuff and try to contact her. How would they ever contact her? She's not making herself known. And if she's not contacting the police, if she's not the one filing the incident report, says a lot.
Yeah, and I mean the thing is, you think about how vulnerable she must feel knowing that he could be watching her. I just don't understand. Even without the murders of the Idaho 4, I mean, this is something that the police should have been on immediately after.
Immediately after what? She, according to all of the reports, never called the cops. What the frick do you expect the cops to do if the cops are never told? Why are they even having this discussion? This is really getting on my nerves.
After it happened, it's just for her own safety. I mean, this is on campus. This is right there in their little community. I don't understand it. I just
You don't understand how the cops didn't do anything because she didn't tell the cops? Of course it happened at the apartments if you're claiming that she was Bryan Kohberger's neighbor, but that's not on campus. That's not on campus. There's other people that live in those apartments that are not school people. We already know that. The same way there's people over in the neighborhood of King Road that don't go to college, that are regular people that get up and go to jobs and have kids. Okay? So yeah, again, and I'm going to keep just saying this over and over again because I don't know where these people's logic is. How do they expect the cops to do a damn thing about anything that they're not told about? If she didn't file the incident report with anybody, then how do they expect the cops to do anything about it? Logic matters.
just really, there's no
So
reasoning for not investigating that
They can't
thoroughly.
investigate it if they don't know about it.
I keep coming
Jesus.
back to pattern, right? Because if there's not a pattern of behavior, you can't just sort of go reach into someone's past and throw the spaghetti at a jury. You can't just say, well, look, he stole a lollipop.
But that's what you're doing, Ashley. That is exactly what you're doing. You're creating nothing and throwing spaghetti out there, hoping it'll stick to a wall. Ugh, I can't.
Up when he was 8. There has to be a pattern in order to bring in prior bad acts. And so if this doesn't sort of fit into any pattern in the prosecution of Bryan Kohberger, I guess I can understand part of this. That's where I want you to remind us, Gigi McKelvey, of how many times Bryan Kohberger is alleged to have stalked the
Here we go.
home at King Road.
At least 12. And
At least 12 per what? Per the PCA that also says that they admittedly have a false ping in the record that shows that he was in Moscow whenever he wasn't? You mean the 12 times where he was in, maybe, who knows, maybe he was over in Moscow. You notice I say that differently depending on like the mood I'm in. It's really strange. Anyway, that these towers are like 10 to 20 mile radius, just depending on the network that's actually running them, the company that's actually running them. Okay. So he could have been within 10 to 20 miles of King Road and still showed up on the exact same tower. So they can't sit here and say this, especially now, guys. Let's go back to what I just said about them doing absolutely freaking nothing over the past 14 months. They still only have a draft of the cast report. Now, again, the cast report is more like the details that we have from the PCA that state that they have his car leaving his apartment again around 9 o'clock in the morning, going to King Road, hanging out for 10 or 12 minutes in the area, and then going back to his apartment all by 9:32. It's a 32-minute round trip drive for him, with him apparently hanging around in the area for 10 to 12 minutes. That is cast information. That is very, very, very specific details. But they only have the one. They only have the one. And now I know that that's the one like within the 12 hours of the event. I get it. It's extremely important, but they only have the one. And if it's just a draft, is that the only one that they have? Is that the only one they have? Because if it's just a draft, they can't necessarily state that he was stalking them 12 times. He could have been at a restaurant in town and shown up on that tower. He could have been grocery shopping in town and showed up on that tower. Just because he showed up on the towers does not mean that he was even in their neighborhood. People really need to realize that.
that is not accidental because the path from where he was going to school to where the King Road residence is, it is not a direct path. These roads are narrow. You have to have a reason to go there from where he was.
What does the narrowness of the roads have to do with anything? Okay.
So just very frightening on all counts. And who knows how many potential victims there are out there of stalking by Bryan Kohberger. This is not a one-time thing with him. And all the more reason, even now, to investigate this woman's claims.
That's a strong statement because she's not saying, I don't think this is a one-time thing with him. She just said, this is not a one-time thing with him. People need to be careful, bro. And before I get someone being a smartass, there are people that come out and straight up confess that I give them no lenience, like Jared Lysick, okay, like Chris Foyles, the other Idaho case that I'm following, that I'm covering here. Now, if some of you guys don't know this, there is another case, like I just said, in Idaho that I am covering. It is a death penalty case. This man is a Moscow, Idaho native, and he is stabby and scary and big, about Bryan's size. And it's an interesting story because he lived with his dead girlfriend's body for 3 weeks in her RV before he finally got caught. Yeah, I'm following that one extremely closely. I'll have links for that one in the description box of this video.
I keep thinking about Erin Andrews. You know, Erin Andrews talks at length about how when she was spied on, and photos were taken of her in her hotel room by some freak who was peering through her peephole. She never got over the fact that she's out there. You know, her pictures are out there, and she can never get that back.
Okay, I don't know what that really fake reaction was, and I sort of think I recall this name before, but there's a difference between a hotel voyeur and what they're claiming Bryan Kohberger was doing. I don't understand why they keep acting as if there's a possibility that this woman's photos and stuff are out there. Like, do they know something that we don't? I highly doubt it, because there's no police report. There's still no police report. And if this woman really found anything of hers out in the dark web, at this point, she would have, hopefully, being a college student with some brains, you'd hope so anyway, would have filed a police report with the FBI. Because once your stuff is out on the internet like that, it's a federal case. It's a federal situation. So if any of that was really true, I feel like it definitely would be part of the prosecution's stuff. But there's no substantial anything to this. Again, to me, she felt safe with Bryan. Why else ask him for help?
And so you mentioned it, the violation, that is real. That pain and suffering is real. It doesn't go away.
I've pretty much laid out my opinion on this subject. I'm not going to bore you guys with repeating everything over again. You guys get it. There's nothing substantial to this. And if it was, then she needs her truth told. If there's truth to this, then it's extremely important to what Bryan Kohberger is capable of, what he will do, how much he can manipulate people into believing that he's a safe person. That's scary, and that's important if it's true. But just coming out and saying all these crazy things, especially when it's just the news. It's just the news. Like I said, I've not seen a single thing about this on social media. I'm not seeing anyone claiming to be this person. No one out here trying to get their story heard, to get their story told, none of the things. So I don't know. I just feel like if it's true, then we would have seen something substantial about this by now. And we haven't. And it's been almost a year. Now, before I end this video, I do want to bring you guys another story. This is just going to be quick because this is just us as a community supporting someone else in our community. Now, I've had a lot of people be very extremely supportive of mine and my family's situation. And it's only right that I bring to light other people's situations. Now, this is a follower, a viewer of mine. She's been around for a long time. I recognize this screen name from a long, long, long time ago because of the way that it is written. Her name here is Stardust, but the S is a 5. Some of you guys might recognize it. This is Brandy's GoFundMe page, and I'm going to be sharing a little bit of her story, not too much of it. I want you guys to go down and read it so that you can feel her emotions yourself and see exactly what it is that I am supporting here on this channel by sharing this with you guys. Now, as you can see, I've made my donation. It took me a while because I needed to change some stuff going on GoFundMe to where my true information wasn't just blasted all over the place. So I had to fix that. But I'm not showing you this for kudos. I'm showing you this because I'm hoping that just like what happens at drive-thrus, whenever somebody pays for your food in front of you, and then, you pay for the person behind you, and then, the love and the awesomeness just continues. Okay. That's why I'm showing you this situation after I've made my donation to prove to you that I walk the walk, I talk the talk. Okay. Now, long story short, sad story short, she endured some really bad trauma, and it knocked out her 2 front teeth. And she had them sort of fixed, but it wasn't a complete fix, and it's been an issue. And now she needs about $1,500 in order to fix the problem completely and have all of it fixed. Now, as it says here, she's gone through 2 out of 4 of the surgeries that she needs for bone grafting and to remove screws that are in her jaw. And there's all kinds of things that the dentist have to do in order to fix what he did to her. So I'm going to be sharing this GoFundMe in the description box. And whenever I receive my ad revenue check for YouTube next week, I'll be making another donation to this page. So on the day that I do that, I will be resharing it in my community tab. But I know that you guys are extremely supportive. So even if you just go and share this, that's getting it out there. That's helping her. Let's help Brandy. Let's help her get her smile back, guys. Let's show her this community stands behind what we talk. But that is it, you guys. If you like the way that I present this information and give my opinion, please not forget to leave a like on your way out and subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed already. Go out and do some good today. See y'all.